Good morning. Thank you for joining us for our Sunday celebration service. I am Heather Abbott, one of the licensed spiritual practitioners here at the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. It is my honor to be here with you this morning. Do you know how wonderful you are? You are so very special. You are a unique, individualized expression of the One, imbued with all of the qualities of the One. I'd invite you to live each day with the awareness of that. Know that you matter. You are here for a reason, as you are here for so many reasons. Be kind and reach out in kindness. Practice being bold each day, as boldness has genius and power. Live in the moment and you will be bold. Joseph Campbell said, "The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are." I now invite you to join me in about a 15-minute meditation. I will take us in and bring us out with a soft chime. Now please sit comfortably with your back straight. Place your hands in your lap or on your knees. Close your eyes or lower your gaze with eyes half closed. Allow your breathing to be natural, nothing forced. As thoughts come, allow them to be like waves. Let them come and go. Don't attach to these thoughts. Just continue to go back to your breathing. I now invite you to bring yourselves back into your bodies, back into your room. ShirleyMearson.com says, why is it important to be authentic? When you're authentic and bold, you are confident and courageous, enterprising and positive. An authentic person will express themselves honestly. They are the same inside as they appear outwardly. This is true authenticity. If you're not the straight shooter type, it may take some energy to maintain a facade, which then leads to additional stress and tension. People pleasers fall into this area. Being authentic allows you to live in harmony with the natural order of things. You're not afraid to laugh at things, including yourself, and you're comfortable in your choices. Authentic people don't live for the approval of others or the status quo. An authentic person will exhibit a type of transparency. Bold people don't mind if someone calls them quirky, because there's simply no need to apologize for who you are. And you give yourself plenty of slack because what you accept today may indeed change or be removed at some other future time. That's okay. Just go with it at the time that it's appropriate for you. And remember, you are so very special. Thank you for joining us for meditation. Stay tuned for the upcoming service. Namaste.
this ground, we pray your will for us abounds. Let us grow a church of love and understanding. Let us grow a church of peace. Let us build a foundation large enough to embrace all in kind. Let us grow a church of heart and mind. In this moment and in this space, in your presence and with your grace, we ask for nothing but for your will to flow through us and be fulfilled, while the walls of fear that may have held us yesterday dissolve to dust upon the ground and simply fade away. And the power and strength inherently that flows within moves us forward now as we begin to grow a church of love and understanding. As we grow a church of peace, as we build a foundation large enough to embrace all in kind. Let us grow a church of heart and mind. Let us grow a church of heart and mind.
Ooh, thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Margaret Owens, for writing such a beautiful song. I love that song, and I love our community. Welcome to the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living and our Sunday celebration service. My name, for those of you who might not know me, is Dusty Ripplemeyer, and I have the honor and the privilege of being the senior minister of this amazing community. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. We embrace new thought and ancient wisdom teachings, and through them believe in a practical spirituality that we can use to create a life that we absolutely love to live. We are a powerful spiritual community, lovingly committed to a world of acceptance, compassion, peace, and joy. We gather together to express love, celebrate life, grow spiritually, practice radical acceptance and inclusion, and to connect with one another. What we are really about is providing a supportive community where we can explore our spiritual path and connect to the divinity and the wisdom that is within us. We welcome all of you that have been attending our services, our classes, and our special events. And we welcome all of you that are visiting us for the very first time. We see all of you. We know who you really are. We appreciate you and we celebrate you. We are grateful that you have chosen to include us in your morning. Now, this weekend we celebrate Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a day to remember and honor those who have lost their lives in military service. Ex-President Harry S. Truman said, "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifices." Please join me as we take a moment of silence to honor them. Thank you to all of the men and women that have served or are currently serving in our armed forces. We appreciate you greatly. My appreciation and gratitude goes out to Heather Abbott, one of our licensed spiritual practitioners who facilitated an absolutely beautiful meditation to set the stage for our service to unfold within. Thank you so very much, Heather. And now, please, I invite you to join me as we welcome another of our licensed spiritual practitioners, Carol Cross.
Hello, everyone. It's a joy to be spending this time with you this morning. Our theme for the month of May is Holy, Holy Uprising. Our talk title for today is Boldly Living a New Story. Holding a vigil for us today, which means staying in a meditative space throughout the service, holding the space for us to have a transformative experience, is our beloved licensed spiritual practitioner, Heather Abbott. Thank you so much for doing that for us, Heather. I am now going to read this community's purpose statement. This is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, the love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives and to being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. With the energy of unconditional love, simply, we are here for God. And so it is. Now, we're going to do something that has always been one of my favorite parts of the service because it really speaks to the openness and inclusivity of our tradition. But it's especially special in these virtual services because we get to see people that we haven't been able to see in a long time and that we miss a lot. So I am honored to have Bill Mcdonald with me today, representing the community and being my partner in our Blessings of All Faith. So good to see you, Bill. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths, as represented by this ceremony. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principle of love and law. And the heart represents the one heart, the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. And so it is. Thank you, Bill. I now invite you to join Cindy Johnson as she sings our opening congregational song.
I'm stepping out into a world of possibilities. I'm stepping out into a whole new way to live. There's so much waiting for me. The path is clear before me. I've got so much that I have yet to give. I'm stepping out and I'm committing to integrity. I'm stepping out, releasing every fear and doubt. The road just keeps on turning, and every turn I'm learning what this life is all about. I am stepping out. I am stepping out.
Thank you so much to Cindy Johnson for that beautiful, beautiful song. Now, I invite you to close your outer eyes as we go in for just a minute and I say a word of blessing about today's service. So, I close my eyes and go within, and this morning I am just an ocean of joy. And that means I know that I'm in touch with my bliss, my divine bliss that comes from my divine nature. Knowing that it's not that I feel bliss, it is that I am bliss because I am God, I am spirit, I am the universe, I am the oneness, the one presence and power that is all there is on this planet, in this universe. And that feels really, really good because it is a bliss of wisdom and connection and power and abundance and deep, deep love. And in my bliss, I know that I am not alone. I am experiencing what is true for every one of you, everyone on this planet, everything on this planet, every idea on this planet, every bit of matter and energy is all this same oneness of bliss and power and beauty and wisdom. And that feels really, really good. So in this place, I say a word of gratitude and a word of blessing to everyone who makes this service possible today. I say a word of blessing on Mark Daly, whose technical wizardry makes this all possible. Otherwise, we'd all just be talking to ourselves in our own rooms. A word of thanks and blessing to Heather Abbott, who just exudes such an energy of loving kindness and serenity that is creating the sacred nature of our time together today. A word of blessing and gratitude to Bill Mcdonald, a strong part of our community that we've been missing for too long and who represents us all so wonderfully. A word of blessing on Reverend Dusty, who will be a fantastic storyteller today, I know, as she speaks from a divine place of wisdom and wonder, and creates just what is the perfect message for us to hear in this moment. I also say a word of blessing on our musicians, Lola Youngman and Dave Youngman, whose talent allows these ideas that come to us in our heads to sink and land into our heart. And I say a word of blessing and gratitude on everyone, because this is not a one-way street. The video may be a one-way street, but energetically, we are all in this dance together, and we are all giving and contributing to the energy and the power and the wisdom of this service. So that all makes me feel really, really good. So knowing that this is already perfect in the mind of God, I turn it over to the universe of love and law that makes it so. And I ask you to join me in anchoring this for ourselves and each other with our words, and so it is. All right. Today's reading is by Ageless Wellness Lifestyle Mentor Shirley Mearson. And she says, "You're the real thing, one of a kind, the CEO of your life. And let me remind you that you, yes, you, have an extraordinary life because it's your life. Be comfortable in who you are. Don't place fences and walls of belief around you. Be at peace and exist, accept, value, forgive, bless, express, trust, love, and empower yourself. But you don't have to be loud to be bold. You can be quiet, thoughtful, compassionate, and still be bold. Silence reflects its own bold meaning. Bold is a word defining people as positive, confident, courageous, brave, adventurous, and so much more. Be bold on your own terms. Always keep moving forward. Living your life is a bold move. You can't help but notice that so many people have restrictions on how you should be. Therefore, always remember, whose life is it anyway? Being bold means to live authentically." Okay, so another real treat for me is to introduce today's musician, Lola Youngman. Lola and I have been spiritual journeyers together for over 20 years through 3 or 4 different churches until we both ended up here together. And I think that is part of the power of Lola's music, is because her consciousness is as deep as her well of talent. So there's something that's really special about people who are walking the walk and not just singing the talk. So knowing that we have great treats in store for us today, I welcome, on behalf of us all, Lola Youngman.
So as the little banner says, we're having some technical difficulties. But I want everyone to know that the song, that you might not have recognized it by the music, but the song that Lola was singing was a beautiful rendition of Andra Day's Rise Up. And we heard it in rehearsal, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And I wish that everyone could have heard it. But as so often happens in these, we're happy for the technology, and sometimes it doesn't always work perfectly. But thank you very much, Lola, for giving it that college try, right? So as I sat this week with this talk titled, Boldly Living a New Story, I realized that three main themes were coming up for me. And the first theme that came up for me during the week was about stories themselves. The bottom line is that the human brain is hardwired to communicate through stories. We tend to remember and process information better when we hear or we read a story, because the narrative, whatever that narrative is, reaches deep into our consciousness, and it provides a deeper understanding of the concepts or the thoughts or the ideas within the story itself. As human beings, we are automatically drawn to stories because we see ourselves reflected in them. We're able to interpret the meaning in the stories and to understand ourselves better through them. Stories are how human beings have communicated with each other since the beginning of time. We've been telling stories long before we ever learned to read or to write. Everyday events became stories that people told their children. Scribes and priests told stories of religious affairs, and political leaders and other kinds of leaders told tales of their adventures. Every culture has stories to tell. And these stories form the basis for how we think about the world and how we live our lives. Stories preserve culture by passing down knowledge from generation to generation. They provide a timeless link to ancient traditions and legends and myths and archetypes. They connect us to universal truths about ourselves and about the world. Stories have the ability to convey meaning and purpose that can assist us to understand not only ourselves, but to understand others and to actually find commonalities with them. With every story that we hear or we read, our mind makes cognitive and emotional connections that shape our perspective about the people involved in the stories. The stories that we tell shape our perception of the world, and our perception of the world shapes the stories that we tell. We all have a story to tell, and we are all continuously involved in the process of adding more stories to our lives. Each of us, in our search for meaning in life, has a vast amount, a huge storehouse of experiences to draw upon. The process of telling our story will assist us to be able to identify our core values and the beliefs that we hold to be true about ourselves, about each other, and about the world itself. Our struggles and our hardships, along with our achievement, teach us life's lessons. And those life's lessons become a major part of our unique story. It's all interwoven together. And it is a story that is so very important for each one of us to tell. Through stories, we share our passions, our fears, our sadness, our hardships, and our joys. The stories that we have to tell give a glimpse of who we are inside to others as they listen to the stories, to share with others who we are, what we are about intrinsically, and what we believe in is passing on some very valuable personal history to others. And as they share their stories with us, they are doing the very same thing for us. Stories have a way of opening our minds to new experiences and new perceptions about other people, about how they feel and how they think. Stories engage our attention and they really trigger or amplify our imagination. When we hear a story, we actually step outside of our own reality and place ourselves in someone else's shoes. We get to experience their perspective and engage in their emotions and their actions and their choices to really literally experience it all along with them. Our brain hears the stories and it's not really able to really discern that it's not going through it ourselves. The individual journeys that we are all on are really varied in nature, but there are similar things that we are all going through. Gloria Newsom says, by listening to each other's stories, we validate each other. We take the time to hear the point of view of others. Taking time to understand and actively listen to another person's story begins to glue humanity together. It is the patient process of listening respectively to another human story and recognizing their words resonate with power and meaning. Through stories, we become united in our diverse emotions and experiences. Diversity exists, however, we also have commonalities. And by listening to each other's stories, we can recognize and acknowledge both of them, both the diversity and the commonalities. When we listen to a story of someone else's life, it is as if we are living their story, even if only for a brief few moments. And that experience allows us to learn from other people's experiences. Simply put, stories help us to really be able to empathize with other people as we come to understand their point of view. And when a story moves us, we are motivated into action. And taking action is often exactly what we need to do in any given moment. It's really taking action is what we might need to be doing. Adele Walsh, in an article called Why is Storytelling So Important to the World, says, stories have the power to save us. They can show us that life can be too beautiful to give up. They can pull us out of the dark. They can make us feel we are not alone in the world. They can make us feel that there is someone else in the world that understands what we are going through. For me, the question that comes up is, what is the story that I have to tell about myself or about my life? What is the story that I want others to remember about myself and about my life? What story about my life will make a profound difference to others when they hear it? The question that we could all ask ourselves is, what story have I been telling? Are they the stories that keep me stuck in old ways of being in the world, or are they stories that open me up to a whole new way of being? This is the second idea that came to me. We all have stories. I think each and every single one of us would admit to that. Factual stories, fill in the blank stories, false make-believe stories, stories about ourselves and stories about other people, even if we don't know them. We can make up stories about the people that are closest to us in our lives, our families, our friends, and our coworkers, or we can make up stories about people that we just happen to encounter in the line at the grocery store or at the bank. We can and do make up stories about ourselves and about the experiences of our lives. Those stories, and trust me, there are plenty of them, are created through the various lenses and the various perspectives that we have, and they reflect our subjective tendency or the context that we are living our lives from. Whenever something happens in our lives, or whenever our lives change, whether it's starting a new job or a new relationship or moving to a new town, we tell ourselves a story about it. Whether it's something that could be really very important to us, like trying to change a habit, or something that's inconsequential, such as burning the morning toast or being late for work, we can and do make up a story about it. In our stories, we might be the hero, or we might be the victim, or the wrongdoer, or the innocent bystander, or the observer of the story. Typically, we probably all want to be the hero, but in reality, more often than not, we perceive ourselves as the victim. Our stories often revolve around not believing that we are able to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish, that we're not able to live the life that we truly want to live. The bottom line is that our story doesn't just say what happened. It also says why we believe it was important, or what it all meant to us, or who we became through the experience. Our life story is not simply a biography of the facts and the events of our lives, but it actually reflects the way that we integrate those facts and those events internally. It reflects the story about the way that we make sense of what has happened in our lives. Our story is the lens through which we view life's events, or our relationship with others, or what we can expect of ourselves or of our lives. What is my story? Maybe the single most important question that we can ever ask ourselves. Once we know the answer, the question becomes, do we want to keep that story, or do we want to change it? Does it work for us? Does that particular story work for us, or could rewriting that story transform our lives in really wonderful and powerful ways? Are we empowering ourselves through our story, or are we actually taking on that victim role through the circumstances? What stories about our individual and collective past do we continue to keep telling that, if we are honest with ourselves, we would know are not the most life-affirming? Owning our story, the one that we are currently telling, and creating a new story that is meaningful, authentic, and empowering, is probably the most important single thing that we can do for ourselves. Rewriting our story is not about sweeping things underneath a rug, or about whitewashing things, or about denying what is, or about being delusional. It's about finding meaning in the events of our lives and recognizing that learning and growth has come out of all of the events of our lives. It's about recognizing the limiting stories that we are often telling ourselves, and knowing that the only difference between ourselves and the people that are doing the things that are doing the things that we want to be doing are those stories that really are limiting us, those stories that are keeping us stuck, those stories in which we tell ourselves that we are less than anybody or everybody else, or not worthy of having and doing our deepest desires. Supporting a new story could be as simple as choosing to believe that we are just as good as everyone else and just as worthy. It could be as simple as shifting our story to make room for a new idea about ourselves, an idea that is in alignment with the truth of our divinity. It could be as simple as grounding the story in the emotions of joy or of gratitude or of appreciation, knowing that what really anchors a story in our life is the emotion that is associated with it, whether that emotion is positive or negative. So if we are telling the story of our lives, we might as well tell one that feels good to us as we are telling it. It's our choice. It could be as simple as visualizing and then keeping our focused attention and intention on the outcome that we wish to have. It could be as simple as putting on the coat of the person that already is doing the thing that we want to be doing, or already has the thing that we want to have. American psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck says, small shifts in mindset can trigger a cascade of changes so profound that they test the limits of what seems possible. They test the limits of what seems possible. Once we have rewritten our new story, we will be able to see possibilities, new possibilities and new opportunities that we were not able to see before. This is the time to be in action, to move beyond our inner work and to do that which is ours to do. Stories create reality. New stories create new reality. They shape our perception of what is possible, and they enable new actions to manifest new results in our lives. Living a new story may mean that we have to give up a lot of what we have been telling ourselves for most of our lives. And if we do this, if we give up all of our attachments, all of our judgments, all of our beliefs, and all of our limitations, then who are we? How do we create something new? The invitation is to challenge the negativity bias in our current story. It's our nature to really fixate on what we would call the negative aspects of ourselves. But they're not the whole truth of who we are. We always have the choice to choose to focus our attention on the other, more positive aspects of ourselves. The invitation is to remember that no matter what our human perceptions might be telling us, that we are the creators of the experiences of our lives. It is impossible to rewrite a new story if we are viewing ourselves as the victim, as someone that life is happening to. We need to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we were created in the image and likeness of that which created everything that there is, seen and unseen, that we too are creative. The invitation is to end the chapters of our lives, of our story that we don't need, that we no longer need in that story, choosing to end chapters that no longer serve us or our new story provides the space and the place for new possibilities, for new growth, and for transformation to occur. The invitation is to eliminate the illusion that we might have of a concrete you or a concrete I. Change is not always easy, but it is not impossible. However, it might feel that way if we are constantly saying to ourselves and to others, that's just the way I am. It doesn't have to be that way. No matter what our current story is, we have to have the faith that we can change. A new story is absolutely possible for each and every single one of us. Lastly, the third idea that came to me was around the word boldly. What does living boldly mean? Boldness means a lack of hesitation or fear in the face of risk or danger. It means the refusal to be held back by the opinions or the judgments of other people. It means the quality of going beyond the usual limits of conventional thought or action. Practically, people who live boldly choose to make the tough decisions that they need to make when they need to make them. And they choose to never give fear unnecessary time, energy, or attention. They speak up, they take risks, and they take action no matter what the circumstances are. Practically, people who live boldly stand strongly in the face of adversity. They live without regret, they learn from failure, and they never dwell on scarcity. They believe in their ability to make things happen. They plan to be great, they expect the best, and they prepare for success. Practically, people who live boldly make their dominant thoughts positive. They conquer their doubts, they exude confidence and courage, and they live in harmony with the natural flow of things. Practically, people who live boldly let the love that they are at their very core shine out from within them. They love even when it's hard, even when they disagree with others, even when they don't want to, because they understand and embody the underlying truth that everyone is the face of God and has value and worth and purpose. Practically, people who live boldly powerfully step into the life that they most want to live. They do the things that they most want to do. They consistently walk their talk and they use their gifts and talents with joy, passion, and abandon. They refuse to merely survive, but actually choose to thrive. Boldly living a new story requires us to get clear on our old story. It requires us to become committed to our new story and find a way to make our fears and doubts work for us rather than against us. It requires that we are willing to leave behind that which no longer serves us, whether it's an old belief or an old outdated thought or pattern or a toxic relationship or a job that no longer inspires us, and to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are opening ourselves up to new possibilities every time we do so. Boldly living a new story requires us to go from imagining the worst to expecting the best, to step beyond our imagined limitations, to align ourselves with the truth of who we are, and to experience our best selves. It asks us to be confident to live without apology from our core values and to overcome the obstacles that we can and to learn to accept those that we cannot. Boldly living a collective news story requires us to reverently listen to each other's stories for the threads of truth that run through each and every single one of them, to recognize and honor the divinity within everything and everyone, to know that we are more alike than we are different, and to be willing to come together to heal old wounds and to move forward in new ways. Anais Nin said, "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." The invitation today is to be willing, both individually and collectively, to commit to boldly living a new story. And so it is. So it is. Please turn within to allow ourselves to turn our attention inward to that core, to that spark of the divine, to our inner sanctuary, to that place of peace, of joy, of unconditional love, of abundance, of wisdom, of grace. It is here that I recognize who I really am. It is here that I connect with that aspect of me. It is here connected and aligned with that part of me, that piece that is the truth of who I am, that allows me to really be that allows me to know that it is just not just me or my life that is fueled and funded and supported by that presence, but the life of each and every single one of us, the life of every sentient being on the planet. That power and presence is everywhere at all times, in its fullness and in its wholeness. And it is from that place of unity that I speak these words about and for each and every single one of us today. Truly knowing that we have everything within us to create the life of our dreams, to walk powerfully as our true selves, our highest selves, our spiritual selves, in the world of form, being that ambassador that we were created to be. So I claim ease and grace for us around stepping into that life, around letting go of anything that gets in the way, any old beliefs or old ideas or old patterns or toxic relationships or jobs that do not inspire us, and allowing ourselves to really walk the talk, to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are the creators of our lives and choose to do it consciously. Choose to do it from a place of joy. Choose to do it from a place of gratitude. Choose to do it from a place of unconditional love for ourselves and for everyone else. Knowing that whatever we do from that space is holy. Knowing that whatever we do from that space is ordained. That it is supported by the highest power there is. And that it shall truly come to fruition. We can experience it here and now in the world of form. And I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes. That my words are clothed in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and I release them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation. Letting go and letting God be God and just accepting all that is given. I invite each of us to anchor this prayer for ourselves, for each other, for our community, and for the world simply by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Amen. Thank you all so very much. It is now time for our conscious giving. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living is sustained by the giving of our time, talent, and treasure. This is the time every week when we offer financial support to assist this community to be a beacon of light and love for ourselves and for others. Together, we affirm the truth that today's offering lifts this spiritual community, prospers the one giving, and contributes to the experience of sufficiency in the world. I invite you to place your hand on your heart with your gift or an intention in mind and to say our offering affirmation. We will do it as a call and response, and I invite Bill Mcdonald to join us once again as the representative of the community. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life.
I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life.
I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source.
I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you so very much, Bill. Lovely to see you. Lovely to have you with us. And now, please welcome back the lovely, the talented, the amazing Lola Youngman.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me now? Okay, good. You're broken down and tired, living life on a merry-go-round. If you can find the fire, I see it in you, so we can work it out. Ooh, move mountains, move mountains, and I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you. Silence isn't quiet, feels like it's getting hard to breathe. I know you're feeling tired, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains, move mountains, and I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And all we need, all we need, all we need is hope. And we will rise, we will rise, we will rise I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again.
Oh, thank you so much, Lola. That was fantastic. I love that song. And, in our tradition, we believe everything unfolds perfectly. And what I think is so great is that you embodied that song because you had to rise up over the difficulties and you didn't have your story become one of being a victim to technology. So thank you. Thank you so much. We've been blessed to have you here with us. Okay, so now that we're all writing new stories, you might like some assistance in the form of prayer by our licensed ministers and practitioners. So if you would like some prayer support in this living boldly and authentically, you can go to our website at trianglecsl.org. And on the home page, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. If you click on that button, you can fill out the request form. We'll get the prayer and we will send it out to all of our ministers and practitioners to be with you in prayer. So right after this service, please join us for our Let's Stay Connected. That's on Zoom, and the link is on the Wednesday newsletter. So hope to see some of you all there right after the service. Now, this is a shout out to anyone who would like to have a more intimate community experience as they walk their spiritual path. Home groups provide intimate and supportive relationships in a growing center. Up to 10 individuals meet monthly, usually in a member's home, under the guidance of a trained group leader for food, fellowship, and discussion. Members share issues and concerns, learn about the philosophy, faith, and way of life of Science of Mind, and engage in spiritual rituals such as prayer and discussions of ways to apply your spirituality in the world. Groups also have fun. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living has had home groups for many years. We would like to extend this opportunity to others who would like to participate. So if you would like to join a home group, please send an email to info@trianglecsl.org. All right, and now it's time for our affirmations. This is your last time for the May affirmations, so you want to speak boldly and bravely as because this is not about the words, it's about the energy. So helping us to do that will be Bill, who will once again represent our community. It is a call response, so I'll go first and then you all repeat. Science of Mind is a philosophy which teaches a deep belief in oneness.
Science of Mind is a philosophy which teaches a deep belief in oneness.
As I embody this truth, love becomes the natural way I relate to the world.
As I embody this truth, love becomes the natural way I relate to the world.
I rise up in revolutionary love for myself, for others, and for life itself.
I rise up in revolutionary love for myself, for others, and for life itself.
I give thanks for the old story I have needed in the past and begin to embrace the now.
I give thanks for the old story I needed in the past and begin to embrace the now.
I release this old story and behold the new me as the beloved.
I release the old story and behold the new me as the beloved.
I rise up and live my life fully.
I rise up and live my life fully.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you, Bill. All right, so we will end with a closing video. But just before that, please close your eyes once again for a short benediction. So I close my eyes and find myself in that sanctuary that Dusty talked about. The holy place, the holy space, the space of the divine that is the truth of me. And I know that it is not just the truth of me, it is the truth of all of us. And that truth is one of boldness and authenticity and courage and strength and wonder and power and greatness. And love. Always, always love. So knowing that that is my truth, knowing that is the truth of everyone in this service, everyone in our community, everyone everywhere, all the time, I know that indeed things have all unfolded perfectly. That the things that needed to be said and sung got said and sung, that the right messages hit the right ears at the right time. And I'm so grateful. Oh, I'm so grateful for this community. I'm so grateful for all of the people who made today possible. I'm so grateful for the support and the love that we are for ourselves and each other. And I'm so grateful for this reminder that we have the power to make our stories the lives that we dream of right here, right now, both individually and collectively. So knowing that we are all in a space for new, bold stories, I turn this over to God, knowing God wants nothing but the best for us, because it is us. So again, I turn all of our newfound wisdom and commitment over to a universe that always supports what we are committed to, and ask you to join me with our words, and so it is. And so it is. All right, video.
Thank you, Sarah Bareilles. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, everybody on the screen, for a beautiful service. Everybody have a really wonderful Memorial Day tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week. I love you.
Angel wanted to say hi.
Cuties. Be brave.